and welcome to the Little Minds Big Ideas podcast with the Early Years Network, the podcast where we are talking all things childhood and early years from inside and outside our wonderful industry. And today I am joined by Olivia Hulley, who is currently a nursery manager, but her background is all in acting and she's done some musical theatre. So today we are going to dive into that. So firstly, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
To start us off, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your current role in early years and how you kind of got to that position?
Yeah, so I am currently a nursery manager for like a chain of day nurseries. So that is something that's been quite a recent journey, but I have been with this company for 3.5 years now. And I kind of fell into it by accident, really. It's really weird because when I had like my kind of performing career, like I've done kind of singing abroad and performing in like holiday parks and things like that. I did a little bit of like bank work, so things. I was part of like an agency, and it just worked really well with my auditions. So I kind of just picked up work as I went, which we know in this industry is like I was pretty much needed every single day in nurseries, mostly nurseries, but a little bit like teaching assistant in school. So I did that for a while, and I had my CV on Indeed. I was approached by a company asking whether I wanted to actually join them because they saw that I had got a performing arts background. Yeah. And that's something that they didn't see many people with that kind of background. And I don't know what it was like. Sometimes it is a little bit of fate, isn't it?
Yeah.
I thought, do you know what? I'm going to actually like go for this, see what happens. Like I've worked in nurseries before. I did my work experience back in the day when I was like 15 in a nursery. So it wasn't kind of new as in like the type of work, but going down that actual like career journey and to become qualified, that was something like it was a little bit of a risk. And it so turns out that then we went into lockdown, which was really lucky for me because this industry was one that we were key workers, we were still needed. But unfortunately with performing arts, exactly. Performing abroad was not really something that was viable back then. So I was very lucky to kind of fall into something new and something that I've stayed in.
Yeah, no, amazing. I think it's like you said, like fate, things happen at the right time sometimes, don't they?
Yeah,
and
it's so weird.
Of COVID helps you to redirect your career, I guess.
Definitely.
So we're going to take a little bit of a detour from early years in this episode, and we're going to talk about your acting training.
Okay.
So can you tell us a little bit about your background in acting?
Yes. So way back when I was about 8 years old, and my auntie did a lot of like amateur dramatics, and there was like a local production and they needed like a lot, the King and I? Yeah, it was the King and I, and I also did Whistle Down the Wind, which is like quite heavy on like ensemble children. Yes. So she asked whether I wanted to kind of be in it, and I did that. And I was very painfully shy as a child. Like, so this for me was such like a huge thing. And I did go to a dance school from the age of like 4 or 5. So I did do dance and I did perform, but I wasn't massively confident with it. So I was kind of just going along, and I absolutely loved it. So I did that. And then I carried on my journey. I decided to do some singing lessons when I was a little bit older. Yeah. And I also did like kind of musical theatre classes. And then at school, I loved reading out loud, like in English literature classes.
Yes.
I loved it when the teachers would be like, oh, who wants to read this next page? And everyone's like, I was like, yeah, well, I'll do it. And I would read, and we were learning Macbeth.
Right, okay.
And I was like absolutely like obsessed with Shakespeare. Like I loved it. So I auditioned for like the local school like production, which was Macbeth. This was when I was about 14, 15, and I got the part of Lady Macbeth.
Oh, amazing.
Most unlikely person to ever get it. Everyone was like, oh my gosh, where's Olivia come from? But I think that's what started my journey kind of in secondary school down the acting route. I decided to then, I thought about staying on at sixth form, but there wasn't any guarantee that I could actually do drama because the amount of people wanting to do it.
Outside that circumstances, isn't there, with education and what you can and can't do.
Exactly. And I didn't want to take the risk of then pulling like that curriculum. So I decided to go to Northampton College. I did straight acting. I did consider musical theatre, but I was really like into straight acting.
Right.
So I did that for 2 years and then auditioned for drama schools and unis and went off when I was 18 for 3 years.
Amazing. Where did you study acting?
I went to St Mary's in Twickenham, in southwest London. So
you packed up and went to London?
Packed up and went there. I mean, it was like a bit of a panic, to be honest, because I auditioned for like a few drama schools and I got to like the last round of one quite well-known one. And it got to the point I was like, what do I do? Because I didn't get in, but then I got into a uni and I was like, I did really want to go to drama school. But it was the last year before the fees went up. Because I think my fees were like 3,600 or something. And it like, it tripled. So I did panic. And I'm really wanting to like move out and go and study acting and meet new people. So again, that was a risk. And I did, I just jetted off to London,
Oh, I love that. So you think that starting sort of your drive to study acting was from a young age? It kind of
definitely,
even though you said that secondary school is where it really kicked in. Yeah, you've been exposed to it at an even younger age.
Definitely. I mean, like I remember even when I was quite a good girl, and at the age of 3, like my mum was taking me to the theatre, things like that, because she can't sit still.
You'd enjoy watching everything.
Exactly. Yeah. So I remember seeing Beauty and the Beast in the West End, and I was just like fascinated by it. So definitely exposed to it at such a young age. My mum was into like theatre, like members of my family were. So growing up listening to that music as well really helped like my drive for it.
I think that was my next question. I was going to ask, did your childhood involve lots of theatre trips and musicals? Do you think that kind of played a part in your, not obsession for it, but your love of acting and things?
Definitely. And like I remember when we're going on like school trips and things, and this was when I was a little bit older, like teenagers, and some people had literally never been to the theatre before.
Gosh.
And I was just like, what? Because I'd like gone all the time. Like I was so lucky to be able to go, like even if it's just like local things like amateur productions, you learn so much and you're exposed to so much kind of literature as well.
Yeah, I mean, I was exposed to those as a child as well. I did theatre school because I did musical theatre, not just acting. And I remember we did Bugsy Malone.
Oh, I love that.
And my mum rented it for us. And I think I watched the DVD like 4 times a day. I'd get up in the morning, I'd want to watch it. We'd eat tea, I'd want to watch it. I just can't. And I think she had to extend how long we had the DVD for. And eventually she just bought it for me. And that's the type of thing that sticks with me. Like I said, when people say they've never been to the theatre, it blows my mind. And I'm like, how can you, what? Like, one of my favourite things, like as myself and my sister, we love going to watch musicals. Like the other couple of months ago, we did 2 in one day because we were in London and we just did it.
Matinee,
exactly, we did. And I'm like you, it kind of, I don't get it, but I think, oh my God, like live theatre, there's nothing quite like it. And I think if you've done it from a young age, it's really like embedded in what you do.
And that rich storytelling, like you just see it like through the characters, and it is amazing. And gosh, like the teamwork that goes into it as well.
Yeah. Like, there's so much behind the scenes that as an audience you don't see, but when you've done it, you understand like the workings of it as well, don't you?
And I mean, like going back to kind of like people who have never been to the theatre, there, you know, some of it is an affordability, but I know that there's some charities that offer like a certain amount of like free or really like discounted
Really?
tickets. I remember once, I think when I was at uni, I remember like the National Theatre having like, you used to go online and get like £5 tickets and things like that. And so there are things out there which obviously shows the importance of theatre.
No, definitely. It's one of those things that I wish everybody gets the chance to go and
definitely
be a part of. I think, like you said, I did amateur dramatics as well.
Yeah.
And it's so different. But it's just fun. Like, I just remember everything about it being really fun.
Absolutely.
Do you think that doing these sort of things when you were younger, I know you said you're quite a shy child, do you think that throughout the years it's kind of built your confidence doing these acting and musical theatres?
Yeah, like completely.
Yeah.
Like until I was like a teenager, I was very much like I only spoke when I was spoken to kind of person. Yeah. But I just loved performing. Like I loved it. But sometimes I just didn't have the confidence to really go for it on stage.
Yeah.
So being around others who might have been like more confident or kind of like, you know, training more and doing more classes, like really built my confidence and having people like give you compliments on your performance. It just like really like boosted me and gave me such a drive for it. I think as well, like you can meet a lot of like actors and performers who take it on like professionally, and they're like the most driven people you could ever meet because it is such a tricky industry.
Yeah.
Which is why I kind of changed career, because it is, you have to be completely and utterly thick-skinned.
Yeah.
So I think that's really helped me because I have become more, like, I'm sensitive, but I know whatever happens, it's not going to be as hard as kind of travelling and missing a day of work, so you're missing a day's wage. You're then travelling peak to London on a train, which costs like ridiculous amount of money. You know, you're having to train and read sheet music. I remember there was one audition I went for and I literally practiced. It was like 32 bars of a song.
Gosh.
Which isn't a lot.
Yeah.
And then when we were there, I'd literally sat on a cold floor for 8 hours. And they kept coming out going, right, okay, it's 8 bars now. I was like, oh my goodness, which is literally like half a sentence.
Yeah.
And I was like, gosh, you've just got to be so thick-skinned to be able to put up with all that hard work to literally go in, sing a little bit, right, thank you, next.
Gosh, it's the side of it that nobody really thinks about or sees, and it's
definitely
it's got, like you say, it's built that thick skin for you that you
definitely
you didn't know you needed, maybe.
Yeah, and now like whatever I do now, and I do think it's because of this training and because of, you know, how I've kind of approached my career. Like now, like everything I do, I literally just put 100% into it.
Yeah.
Because I've now trained, that's how I think, which is a really good thing. Like,
definitely.
But it come from a really crazy place.
Yeah, definitely. So with your, obviously working full-time in the nursery as manager now, how do you keep your hand in with acting? What do you do? Because I guess now it's more of a hobby and it's something you just enjoy doing. There's not as much pressure on it, maybe.
And that's true. Like, as much as I kind of wanted to do it forever, and it did get to the point where I do want it more as a hobby now, because you do lose that enjoyment when you know that literally you're self-employed, it's your bread and butter. If you're not making it, you're living, you're not got any money to do nice things and go on holidays, and you miss a lot of friends and family's events because you're away doing things, or
it's a lot, really, isn't it, when you really
absolutely
go into it.
So now when I do it, I know that I'm doing it for the love, and I'm like, okay, I'm safe, I'm secure in my job, I've got a career, but I've also choose to do this on the side, and I just enjoy that aspect. And socially, it's really great for kind of being around like-minded, creative people.
Yeah, I think it's like you said, it's now enjoyable. It's like you're not, like you said, you've got your steady career that you're enjoying, but you're also able to have something in your life that is still bringing such enjoyment. So what kind of things are you doing or have done? Is there anything?
So I hadn't actually acted in like 5 years or something crazy, and then a friend of mine who I'd acted with before said to me, literally over a year ago now saying, I've got a play that I want to put on, and it's called Educating Rita.
Yeah.
And I was so excited because I really identified with this character. You know, she was a strong female character. She was kind of married young, and not that I can relate to that, but you know what I mean? Yeah. And her husband wanted her to have a baby, and she was all about, no, do you know what? I come from a very working class background, and I would like to go and study literature.
Yeah.
And that was her complete and utter passion. And she went to the Open University, and it's when the Open University like just started off, and she made it. And I thought, do you know what, I can really relate to this strong character, you know.
Yeah.
It's more kind of influences that we need for like young women in this day and age, you know, because a lot of theatre and a lot of stories in general are quite male driven, like so it was really nice to have that kind of character. And I thought, yeah, I really want to do this, and it just felt good to be asked. So I did that. And then I've been with a company called White Cobra, and they do like local productions like Northamptonshire. And we also tour. So I did a tour quite recently. We went to like the Isle of Man, we went to like Chester, all different places. So it just provides that release from work, because it is a high pressure environment working in the early years. So no matter what your hobby is, I think it's important to have a hobby. So you have got that release, otherwise you just don't have a work-life balance.
No, definitely. And are you still doing productions now? It's kind of what we're still with the same company. And
still with the same company. I'm doing a play in November, December time. I'm going to a couple of different places. We're performing at, the Royal.
Yes.
We're performing there for like a few days. And this is great, this play, because it's all about storytelling.
Amazing.
Which
you're very love that.
Thank you very much. So I use the children sometimes as an inspiration, because this is an ensemble piece. There's 4 women, and it's all about the war. And they went off and they worked for they were part of like the Land Army and doing their bit. But they all play like different characters in this story. So I literally thinking, oh gosh, like trying to use like inspiration. What kind of voices would, my children use and things like that. So yeah, just a bit of like silly, but yeah, it's
good fun.
Really good fun.
Do you think that your acting background, and you're still doing your acting and things, do you think this helps you bring out confidence in the children that you're sort of working with, because you knew what it was like to feel a little bit shy and reserved, but this training has helped you come out of your shell? So do you think that you try and do that a little bit with the children in your nursery?
Yeah, definitely. Like I see a lot of myself in some of the children who may be a little bit more shy. I mean, most of our children are really like quite confident children, but in some ways they might struggle to express themselves emotionally. So it's not just the confidence, it's also that expression. And it is like their literacy skills as well. Like people think, drama acting, it's not kind of, viable in this day and age. But actually, English is a huge part of the curriculum as they get onto formal education. So starting it young with storytelling and kind of role play and performances. And we did like a play at Christmas, and some of them and you just don't know who's going to crumble, who's going to, but most confident children can crumble as soon as they see their parents in the audience.
A high pressure situation. It's not used to, is it? Yeah.
And then it works the other way. You've got children who you think, oh gosh, I don't know how they're going to be. And then all of a sudden they're just, wow, they get that buzz from the clapping and kind of remembering what they're supposed to be singing. And I really do, I hope it really brings out the confidence in them and kind of enjoyment in that aspect too.
Definitely. And I think it's like you said, it's building skills that they'll take with them
definitely
forever. Do you think there's any skills that you've learned in your acting career that you have now sort of transferred into your career, not only as nursery manager, but sort of going through that early years training and doing the qualifications? Do you think there's any transferable skills that you've got? Okay.
Definitely. I think like in a way, because I'd kind of studied at uni, I kind of knew what was expected of me to kind of go through my level 3. I knew that, and I could kind of use that to help other people who are going through their level 3 as well, because I've had to use like the studying, and I've given kind of like tips and tricks on things that they should do, and reassurance that, you know, it's not the end of the world. Like if you're not in the mood for doing your coursework tonight, that's fine. Do it tomorrow. Like it's not, people put so much pressure on themselves. I've got to do this. I've got to do this. And actually, like, as long as you look after yourself as well, that's what I've learned, that you've got to look after, number one, to be able to kind of do your job properly and do like your qualifications with like the right intent. So definitely, I mean, in terms of like resilience as well, and management of people, when I was in my last year of uni, I took it upon myself to do like, I contacted loads of different companies and stage management teams to see whether I could do some work experience. Now, I must have sent out like I don't know, over 100 emails, and one person got back to me.
Oh my goodness.
And I was like, okay, so this was for a production of 1984 at the Playhouse in the West End.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so it was shadowing the stage manager. And I was just really interested to see what that kind of role entailed. So I did that, I volunteered, and I learned so many skills from that, like dealing with people, because it is a massive part of my role.
Yeah.
And not necessarily like the children are kind of used to looking after those children and managing the children, but now it's kind of a new thing, managing people.
Yeah, it's a completely different ballgame, isn't it?
So looking back, I think, gosh, yeah, I did learn that. And there are so many kind of transferable skills. And in terms of children, I also taught a creative learning group for a theatre where I was at uni. So again, it was kind of like preparing of lessons, preparing like the children, making it fun for them. So I definitely use that as well to kind of keep things engaging for the children, especially in group times and things like that, trying to get the most out of those children.
Yeah, I think it's like you said, it's having lots of transferable skills that makes you like a good manager, and you've got an all-round sort of selection of tips and tricks that you can pull on.
Yeah.
Do you think that when you're managing people, do you kind of think about how you would want to be managed in different scenarios?
Yeah, definitely. Like I think I try and think in terms of like empathy. Like I always think, you know, how would I feel if I was going through this situation? Like even if people need to be pulled up on things, it is kind of being relatable as well.
Yeah.
Because I've been in that exact same situation too, because I started off as an unqualified practitioner. So I've kind of like, you know, like moved upwards. So it's not like I'm coming in all guns blazing. Like I really do have that kind of empathy for people, and I'll try and use like real life, you know, scenarios of things that I've been through in my career to help others too.
No, such a good skill to have as a manager, isn't it?
Yeah, and the organisation as well. Like you've got to be super organised, especially in the early years. So I try and keep things organised, and a lot of like my team who I work with, they like that kind of approach. They like, you know, they need to know things. They need lists and things. So kind of, like I'm kind of like that anyway. But if I wasn't, I would have adapted my kind of work ethic to help those people, because a lot of the staff like visuals.
Right, yeah. So it's learning their learning styles as well as
absolutely,
isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you sort of, going back to children and acting and musical theatre clubs and groups and things like that, what are your views on children joining them from a young age? How do you feel about those?
Well, as long as they're not like forced, you know, like some parents are you can get your pushy parents, I'm not going to lie. And, you know, they did it way back when, so they want their children to be in competitions. And I think when you see, like, especially like on American like TV shows, you know, you used to see them like in the pageants and things like that. I think, oh God, you're kind of stepping into like dangerous territory there. But I think for like 99.9% of people, it is kind of something that I think parents kind of look upon and think, oh, my children's interested in that. And there's nothing wrong with giving it a go, because if they don't like it, they can always stop. But it's a great way of meeting friends. I met so many friends through doing kind of theatre clubs and things like that. And also a lot of kind of dance schools, musical theatre, acting classes. They do like trials. So you literally go for like a free 2-hour trial just to see whether your child likes it.
That's good.
Like, what have you actually got to lose?
Yeah.
Because you can just turn around and say, oh, no, thank you. Or, okay, yeah, I like this.
We can go for it. Would that be one of sort of your top tips for parents taking children to these sorts of things?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, speak to like mum friends or people who be able to like recommend like a theatre school. But also there's lots of like productions on kind of in like the local community. So going to see these productions, and if you know, you can then speak to like the teachers there. You can even, if you're confident, speak to some of the mums and see would they recommend that school. And also it's great for getting children out to theatre, and they'll probably watch it and think, oh, you know, like I could be up there and do that, and act like my favourite character or dance my favourite song, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it's exposure, isn't it? It's exposing children to it, and if they like it, they'll enjoy it. Are you glad that you were exposed to the world of acting, musical theatre, going to shows as a child?
Oh, absolutely. I wouldn't be doing like the job that I'm doing now if I had it, because I don't think it would have built that confidence up for me. In terms of like people skills, and I mean, like in terms of teaching to young children, it is a performance.
Yeah, you are the character of the teacher in the...
I am today Miss Olivia, and like even though I'm myself, like you leave everything at the door, don't you?
Yeah.
And I think I'm getting better at being able to do that, because it's getting into that role, that character, and really thinking of those children's needs, like, you know, above my own. So I definitely, and in terms of now, like, I'm still being out, like, I can still, like, you know, sing and act and do things on the side. So, you know, it really, like, it's a huge part of my life.
I think it's once you fall in love with the theatre, it's a lifelong love, I personally think, because I don't think I'll ever fall out of love of going to the theatre. I could go and watch anything. I could go and watch an amateur dramatic show, or go and watch something in the West End, and we went to New York at Christmas and we watched the Rockettes, and that has been on my list for years and years. And I walked into the theatre and I've got a picture where I turn around, or a video, and I'm in the Radio City Musical, and I'm literally like, I was completely taken aback by this theatre. And it's things like that I get it. Like when you're in the world of it, you're in the world of it. And I didn't...
Memories. Fantastic, isn't it?
It's something you take with you. And I didn't... When my GCSEs started, I made the decision, what was it going to be? Like, and I stopped it all to focus on school. And don't get me wrong, it led me to my early years career, and I would never change that. But I do miss being part of that community, because it was just so fun. But then I still get to spend time with my sister, go to the theatre, and we sing all the songs. And
oh my God,
there was a local performance of Kinky Boots recently, and I've seen it now 3 times. And it's just, I don't get bored watching the same things, because every time you watch it with a slightly different cast, it can change it.
Yeah, and it is. And I think, like, going back to children as well, they're learning how to like sit still and focus on something.
Definitely.
Because that is such a huge thing. Like, I know when you see like children's theatres, there's specific things, you know, of like their favourite shows and things. And a lot of children, I did laugh one day. I was like, is anyone else going to go to the theatre? Like, why is no one taking me? They all went to see the same show. And it's shorter acts, granted, but these children are learning how to sit and listen and focus.
Engage and follow the
absolutely.
story.
Yeah, and that whole atmosphere that's created and always, like, when you look at the performers on stage, they just always look like they're having so much fun.
Yeah, they're having the best time. And one of my favourite things when going to the theatre is the interval ice cream.
Yeah.
You can't go to the theatre without having an interval ice cream. I just think it should be a rule that you have to do it. And when you don't, when we went and did 2 shows in one day, I didn't in the second show because I was like, my sister's like, oh, right, are you feeling okay? And I was like, I just can't have another ice cream. I'm a bit wild. But I think, like you said, it's those memories that start as a child.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
I just remember it, and the music and the enjoyment, and it's expressing yourself in different ways, and it's such fantastic skills for children to learn, even though they probably don't realise that.
No, they don't realise. And I remember even as a child, like, my interval kind of routine is, of course, go to the toilet. You got to, haven't you?
Yeah. In the queue.
Yeah, I know, you're standing there in the queue, but then you're hearing everyone talking about the show, and I'm like, I'm like listening to what everyone's saying. I'm thinking, I agree with that person. And that is like part of it, that hustle and bustle, flicking through the programme, reading about the performances, like the performers, reading all about like certain aspects of the show, like looking at like the stage management team, like
set design, how to go into it.
Costumes, makeup, history of the shows, because there is a lot of history to things. Yeah. And it's just like a really fun, I mean, like Six, for example. Oh, I never realised I would be so into like Henry VIII.
Oh, no, that's on my list. I really want to go and see. I really want to go and see Six.
Yeah,
and it's mine's the saw Billy Elliot in the West End when it was on, and she loved it. And I remember she went to see Avenue Q.
Oh, yeah,
when it was in the West End, and then we went when it was in a local theatre on tour, and it's such a different type of theatre, and it's been exposed to so many different types of theatre. You've got like plays, you've got the musical theatre, you've got dance shows, and dance shows I find incredible as well, because I think it's a different kind of storytelling.
That's fantastic.
And we went to see Peaky Blinders through the story through dance.
That was really
incredible.
Was it contemporary?
Yeah. And I went with my partner and my mother and father-in-law, and my father-in-law just didn't get it, and it was so this isn't Peaky Blinders. This isn't Peaky Blinders.
It's outside the box.
And I said that. I said, they're just telling the story in a different way. And I just think it's such an interesting way. And it's like you say, children can learn that you don't have to always use words to express yourself. And it's how when we teach behaviour and things, obviously we ask for kind hands and things like that. But if someone's feeling scared or stressed, they can go to a safe place. That's their action of telling you. And it's just storytelling in a completely different way.
I mean, I do that with something like the children we've got. We've got an Alexa, and they ask for songs, which is amazing. Sometimes I'm like, okay, right, I really need to I do need to listen to what they're asking for. I'm thinking, hang on, the poo-poo song and all that.
They're so good, aren't they?
They're so lovely. I mean, I personally love that song, but we had a little boy once, and everyone was copying him in the end, and it was like this like Halloween music, and it was quite scary music, and he was stomping around. His face was like angry, and I was just like, he's really feeling this music.
Yeah.
And I videoed it and sent it to his mum. Like, you've got to take him to some sort of like
dance
stagecoach.
Do something with it.
Yeah, because he was really, really into it for ages. And I just thought that is so clever. He's listening to the music and he's feeling it through his body and expressing himself. And it's just really good for like children's well-being as well.
Mm-hmm. To be able to express yourself in different ways, get so much off your chest. You can do. It's limitless, really, isn't it? What you can do through music and dance and things.
Definitely.
So, in a nutshell, how would you describe a career in acting? How would you sum it up? I know you didn't continue with it past you've got sort of changed your career and still using the skills and everything, but how would you summarise it for anybody listening?
I would say that it's just, it's so rewarding, like the buzz you get from the audience when they're clapping and cheering, because people are at the theatre because they want to be there. Yeah. And, and the audience members aren't stupid either. You've got to you've got to plant the seed of a story. Don't spoon feed them. They will come out and discuss things and talk to their friends and families, or if some people go on their own, they're even thinking about it afterwards, and it's just that kind of collective community, and it's just amazing to be a part of. Like, it really is. But you do have to be extremely resilient. There's a bit of luck in it as well, I'm not gonna lie. There is that too. But yeah, I wouldn't have changed that experience for the world. Like, I've learned so much. I've seen so many different places when I went off and did like my singing, which I kind of found as I got to early teens. That was definitely like the making of me in that aspect too. Finding all three aspects of performing, singing, dancing and acting. It is amazing if you do have that career and you do make it. But if you don't, it's a fantastic hobby.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yes. It's not something that you have to stop just because it's not your career.
No, absolutely not. And I think a lot of people think, God, I'm a failure because I haven't made it. Like, I haven't, done this. And you do get like the same sort of questions, people going, if you audition for this, are you in EastEnders? You do get them questions, but it is, you just got to kind of ride the wave. If it's your dream, you always should chase your dream. And I think that was my dream at the time. And that's what I install into the children. You can be anything you want to be.
Definitely.
We let them chase their dreams. If they say things that they want to do, I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Because
go for it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So my final question that we ask everybody is, what can you remember from your childhood that is your favourite childhood memory?
Oh my goodness, there's so many memories. One that, do you know what? It actually reminded me of it yesterday. I was driving along, listening to my musical theatre tunes, as you do. And I heard, do you remember Anastasia?
Yes.
Oh, Once Upon December.
Yeah.
And then there's another one, isn't there? Oh, there's so many good songs in that. And I just remember listening to it on, I think back in the day, I think it was like tapes.
Probably, yeah.
These children, they
don't have a clue what they are.
No, they're born, they're literally like, tapes what? CDs?
What is that?
It's all about the Alexa and the phones. But I remember listening to it and just rewinding it, repeating it, learning all the words. That was just a fantastic memory for me because I used like Small World in it. I used like my little tiny figurines. I was obsessed, and I used to create like dance routines to them songs. And it really brought me back yesterday when I was driving. And I was thinking, gosh, like there's so many like happy things. Like even if it was like things that I just did like on my own, like back then I didn't realise what I was actually learning and what I was actually getting out of it. To me, it was just like happy memories and
I guess kind of leading you into
definitely
career that you started in the uni degree and everything that you did with it all.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining me. One of my favourite chats, talking all about musical theatre.
Thank you.
I could talk for hours about it.
I know, it's like a big home, isn't it, to talk about theatre.
It is, but thank you so much. And I hope this conversation has kind of inspired people to, like you say, take your dreams. And even if it doesn't work out the way you always thought it would, you haven't failed, and there's always opportunity to have that work-life balance and still enjoy what you enjoy, doing things outside of work as well.
Definitely. And for children to kind of start off just by doing clubs, they'll make probably lifelong friends.
Yeah.
They'll learn so many skills, and do you know what? It just gets them out of the house, doesn't it, sometimes?
Burn that energy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And on that note, we hope that everyone has enjoyed this episode. Thank you so much again for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
And hopefully we'll get Olivia back on. We can talk more theatre and early years. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.